Hello and welcome in this web video in which I am going to demonstrate you a nice feature which is available in the IDEA add-on for Sparx, and this is the functionality for importing Excel sheets and transfer the content of an Excel sheet to a model in Sparx Enterprise Architect, and more specifically create a model that is based on ArchiMate models, ArchiMate concepts, elements and relationship, in combination with adding tag values, with creating links to files, etc. So a combination of transferring an Excel sheet to a model in Enterprise Architect. I have created a package import Excel where I'm going to place my content from the Excel sheet. I go to the IDEA add-on on the specialize, and now I go to the assistant, and now I have the possibility to start up the Excel importer. And here I have the Excel importer screen, and I can enlarge this screen now, and I can say let's select the Excel sheet I have used. And here I have the Excel sheet, and here you see a small sample, and this is an Excel sheet which is an export from a CMDB. For example, Top Desk ServiceNow. In this case, it's an export from the application Ultimo, and there are a number of things defined, and you see here a number of columns and a number of rows, and based on this I am able to create a definition for creating the exports. But here are some interesting things, because some of the elements we would like to have as a tag value, for example the software status, or for example the number, the unique ID which is available in that CMDB application. I also want to create some properties in the element entity. In this case it will be nodes. But here the most interesting things are happening, because here there is an application name which will be an application component in ArchiMate. This is an application function, will be logically an application function in ArchiMate. This will be the business functions which will be served by the application function. And on top of that, for the business architecture of the organization, I can define domains in which the business functions are logically created. I can go to the import definitions, and I have created some samples, and here you can see that you are able to load the specifications I have made. I've done this in 2 steps, and here you can see that you can do a number of things. First is I can create here the mapping order in which it will be processed, and here I can define a number of elements. And here you can see that I would like to find the object by name. So this makes it possible to re-import the elements, and based on the name of the application it will check whether the name of the application exists. If so, it will update the content, and otherwise it will create a new one. So find object by name. And here there are a number of extra elements, and most of them I will discuss in a minute. This is the column as it is available in the Excel sheet. And here I will create, when it does not exist, I will generate based on this element. I am going to create an application component. Next one is that I am able to define elements to an element property. And here I can say, okay, please do read the column in the Excel sheet with a description and add it to the notes element in the notes property which is available in the element. This is an interesting one, because often when you have, for example, a CMDB. The CMDB is accessible via a web browser. And in that case, I would like to create a hyperlink, a linked file connected to my elements, and that is the one which is possible here. And here you can add the source ID, and then you can create a specific web URL which links. So from Enterprise Architect later on you can launch your internet browser and you can see the contents which about this application in this case which is available in that CMDB file. Here you can define tagged values, and with this tagged value I can read a column and it will be added to a tagged value with the name of this application, which will be version of the application. Another tag value, and here some interesting things are happening, because now I can say I would like to create a combination of an object and a connector based on this column. And what would I like to do? I would like to create this column and connect it to the application component I have generated here, and based on that I would like to create an application function and an assignment relation. And furthermore, I can do some extra things. I can add connections, for example, to a supplier or to owner, but these are currently inactive because these are added in a later stage. We have already defined it, but we're not going to use it because here there is an active column, and this will decide whether these elements will be processed during the import. And the order is also, of course, important so that you can define here. Okay, let's run the export and import, and it takes some time. And this is now the first step I have taken. Now you can see that a model is created. I will do that in a minute, but after that I'm going to do an extra step with creating the relations, thus the business layer entities. And there's a new element defined, a little bit smaller. First, find the element by name based on the name of the application function, because the application function will be connected to the ArchiMate layer of the business layer. And here you see I'm going to connect this application function to the business function. And here you can say I'm going to create an ArchiMate business function, and the application function will be serving the business function. And here eventually you can also define the direction of the connector. And the last one is creating a domain. And here, and this is also an interesting one, because I also have a last object connector. And what does the last object connector? It is going to create a new element and a new connector in the ArchiMate model, but it will not be connected to the application function. No, it will be connected to the last element generated here in the repository, and in this case it is the business function that will be created. And again, I'm going to do the export and import, and here you'll see that it is processed. And of course I can save the definitions, save it as an XML file with the configuration. It is a data set definition which can be loaded and unloaded. And here you can now see that we are able to go and take a look at the model and see what is happening here. And here we see, you will see that there is a number of application components generated. There are some application functions generated, business functions and business roles. And now I can say, oh, this is really interesting. Here we have a certain application. Okay, here it is. I add it to my diagram, and I can make use of insert related elements. And I can say, please do that for all the levels that are available. And now I'm able to generate a model. And here you see exactly what we have generated. We see an application component which is assigned to the application function. The application function is serving a business function, and the business function is serving a certain role. So here we have created the model. But in the application component, we see some extra things. We see that there is a tagged value created for this element. But more interesting is that it's also possible to take a look at the inspector, and there we see that a hyperlink is created, and when we activate one, we can here launch this browser, and it is made specific based on the ID I have read from the Excel sheet. So here you see how easy it is to transfer an Excel sheet to an ArchiMate model, extending it with tagged values, files, and eventually also with properties and other elements in your model. So a powerful feature in the IDEA add-on for Sparx Enterprise, and also highly configurable.